Most biologists will agree that the biggest mystery in the entire fossil record is the doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years.
We are 98.7% identical to a simian, and there's only 1.3% differentiation. But you look at the simians, they have 48 chromosomes. We only have 46.
You already know what it is. It's your boy LayedBak with another reaction, another review, another episode. Hey, TikTok, you up to bat. Bah! It's your boy LayedBak. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, two things we gotta do. You gotta hit that subscribe button. I'm drinking this water. You already know what it is, man. You are the prize in 2025. You are the prize in 2025. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Stay up to date with all the videos. We back with another reaction. We got some more conspiracy theory, unsolved, a lot. It's gonna be a lot in this one. So you make it to the end of this one, you're a real one for real. Make sure you put that in the comments. Don't forget to do that. Also, I got a TikTok playlist. If you into this stuff, you can binge watch, have your mind blown. It's a lot of crazy stuff in this stuff. But I ain't gonna hold you up. Let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Squad, what's poppin'? Let's get it.
Have you seen that one theory that Benjamin Franklin might have been like a serial killer?
What?
Yeah, so back in 1776, I guess he lived in London at this one house, and then he moved back to America or whatever. And during 1998, they wanted to make the house into like a museum. So while they're renovating the place and they, they're digging it up, like they're going underneath it, bro, they find pretty much like a room with no windows in it with 15 skeletons inside of it.
What?
What the
children skeletons.
Oh, what the fuck?
So hella people have theorized that he might have been a serial killer, a murderer, yeah, and he killed hella people and hid their bodies underneath his house.
Yo,
he was damn near like Jack the Ripper or something.
Saying, bro, on the low.
Yeah.
Wait, Benjamin Franklin, was he the guy who did the kite shit?
Yes, he's on the $100 bill.
Oh my god, wait, the guy who did the kite is the $100 bill?
Yeah. Weird, huh?
How the fuck is he there? And he's a murderer.
Yeah.
Do you see what we're doing here in America? Jeez.
Do your own research. Do your own research.
These are the creepiest unsolved photo mysteries. The Baltic Sea anomaly is known for being one of the most famous underwater mysteries on Earth. This sonar image from 2011 shows a large structure located at the bottom of the ocean. And if you're a Star Wars fan, it may look a little familiar to you. Many people believe that it could be a sunken UFO or an ancient man-made structure that was lost to history. That or Han Solo decided to move there and live his life in peace. Next, in 2016, a woman named Linda sent Belfast Live a disturbing photo that was taken from the year 1990. The photo shows a group of women in a factory with their arms crossed. One of these women was Linda's grandmother, Ellen Donnelly, and if you look closely at her shoulder, you can see a disembodied hand hovering over her. The photo quickly spread through the media, even making it to Snopes where they were unable to debunk it, so always look over your shoulder. And finally, many people believe that the Madonna, or the White Lady, was caught on camera back in 1991 at the Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. On this night, Judy Huff Fells decided to take a stroll in one of the most haunted cemeteries in America, along with the local Ghost Research Society, when they felt an odd presence nearby. And when she took out her infrared camera and snapped a photo, she could see a woman sitting on a stone. And this is why you shouldn't wander around a cemetery at night.
You won't never catch me doing that.
Are you familiar with the missing 411 cases? No? Missing 411 refers to a series of unsolved cases of people who mysteriously vanished in national parks across North America. Obviously, it's common for people to get lost in like the woods because it's fucking huge, right?
Yeah, bro, you could like fall the wrong side, get eaten by an animal too.
But it's just the way they went missing, how they were found, how their remains were found. Like there's one case about a guy, his name is Aaron Hedges. Back in 2014, he was elk hunting in the Crazy Mountains in Montana. He was really familiar with this specific area. He got so familiar to the point where like he didn't need a map.
So there's no way he could just get lost.
No, bro. Like, and he even set up these caches in different parts of the area. It has like necessities that he might need, like sleeping bags, food, water, stuff like that. So he ended up going with two of his friends on a hiking trip, and they were gonna go set up camp at a lake. So they were gonna go with 2 horses and a pack mule. It was good for the first 2 days, and then on the 3rd day, Aaron decides, you know what? I'm just gonna go to a cache. I'm gonna go get a sleeping bag, get some other materials that we might need. I'm gonna come back. A couple hours later, one of his friends ends up talking to him on the walkie-talkie, and this specific specific like walkie-talkie. Whenever you talk, it shows the GPS coordinate of the other person's walkie-talkie. So whenever he looked at it, Aaron said he was gonna go north to a cache, but on the map he went far east from the cache he was supposed to go. And then whenever they got in contact with him, he was like, "Oh, sorry guys, I went the wrong way on accident."
But how would he get lost like that?
Exactly. They go out look for him and stuff. They go to where the GPS showed. No sign of him anywhere, bro. Since they found nothing, they eventually ended up calling the authorities. They ended up finding his boots, and next to his boots was a campfire, pack of cigarettes that were his. But it was weird because those same
that's super trash, man.
Does anyone remember when they were building a freeway outside of St. Louis and they found over 200 bodies in one spot? No. And before I even get into it, you know that's what tonight's episode is going to be about. What? So outside of St. Louis, there's this one area that has all of these strange mounds. There's no hills anywhere else, so people always wondered if they were man-made. But in the 1960s, when they were building a freeway there, they had to cut through these mounds for construction. So they thought they would just cut into them and there would be dirt inside. But that was not the case. One of the mounds had 272 bodies buried inside of it.
What?
And they were like, what is going on? Is this from a serial killer? Well, two things. First, the bodies were in really bad shape. The skeletons were largely women, and they were all lined up in these rows. And the ones that weren't women, a couple of them had been beheaded. And the second thing is that these bodies were 1,000 years old. It turns out that these mounds were from an ancient civilization that practiced human sacrifice. And this was kind of a big discovery because historians didn't think that indigenous Americans practiced ritual sacrifice until that discovery. But why were they sacrificing people and how were they doing it? Well, if you want to know more about what was happening in the area and you maybe want to know more about human sacrifice in general, you're definitely going to want to check out tonight's episode.
200 and some bodies?
Do you remember the most mysterious plane disappearance in aviation history?
Yes.
On March 8th, 2014, a plane with flight number MH370 carrying 227 passengers and 12 crew members departed from Kuala Lumpur International Airport, heading to Beijing, China.
Oh no.
37 minutes after takeoff, the plane suddenly disappeared from radar and was no longer contactable. After news broke that MH370 had gone missing, many countries launched a large-scale search and rescue operation in the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. However, no traces of the plane were found in those areas.
Whoa.
Data from the Inmarsat satellite suggested that the plane might have flown southward into the Indian Ocean. So what happened to flight MH370? Some experts believe that the plane could have encountered a serious technical issue, causing it to lose control and veer off course. There are several theories suggesting that the plane might have been hijacked or that a terrorist act occurred on board. Many people suspect that Captain Zahari Ahmed Shah intentionally redirected the flight and let it crash into the Indian Ocean.
What?
What do you think happened to MH370? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.
So they don't have no nothing? No nothing?
The mystery of the Bloody Children's Playhouse is one that will haunt you. What? Especially because it's still unsolved. So January 2012 in Australia, the staff of Riverwood Primary School discover a massive pool of blood inside of a children's playhouse on property. This is the actual playhouse pictured here. The blood puddle was over 30 centimeters wide and contained about 1.5 liters worth of blood. That's a lot of blood. So obviously they called the authorities in to try to see what the hell had happened, how this blood had ended up in a kid's play area, and they did some tests on it and discovered that it belonged to a young male. But they couldn't find any matches, they didn't know who the blood belonged to, and this amount of blood was much more than simply a bloody nose or an injury. Authorities believe this would have had to be a substantial wound that this young boy or man had to have sustained in there. They even said that there's no real way that they should have been able to actually walk out of the clubhouse, and that they would have had to be carried by somebody. But this story gets even stranger. So when the authorities looked into recent missing persons cases or absent student records from the school, they couldn't find anybody that had gone missing around that time. The police also searched through hospital records for that time period because obviously somebody losing that much blood would have had to go to the hospital, but nobody had checked themselves in around that time with any sort of injury that matched what could have happened inside of that cabin. So the police to this day think that this blood belonged to a young child who was probably murdered. But keep in mind, this is a small cabin built for children to play inside of, so adults can't even stand up straight inside of it. There was also no blood trail leading in or outside of the building. Police have searched the areas around the wetlands and all of the forests and areas in that town. They haven't found any trace of a child. and no children have been reported missing. So to this day, this is a case that haunts me, that really confuses me, and I'd like to think that there might be some sort of closure in the case at some point, but this is a story that I really think will never have an ending. But let me know your theories on what might have happened here below.
That is crazy.
I am damn sure that Madeline McCann was not abducted.
Wow. What do you think happened then?
I tend to agree with the Portuguese police. The Portuguese police believed that what was possibly, well, they believed that she died in the apartment, first of all. Very high-ranking cadaver and blood dogs were sent into the apartment, and these were not regulars. These belonged to Martin Grime, who was a top-of-the-range man from, I think, North Yorkshire Police, who has been used in testimonies in the States, and has actually, people have been convicted without bodies being found based on the testimony of him and his work. So it was his dogs that went in, and these dogs, they alerted to blood spats behind the sofa, with a high DNA allele count that was related, it would appear, to Madeline. There was a problem with the forensic science services. There were problems with the DNA, the issues and everything. But these dogs alerted only in the apartment where Madeline was reported missing. In a hire car that McCann's hired after Madeline was reported missing, in the further holiday home that they were moved to when apartment 5A was made a crime scene. Madeline's cuddly toy and a key fob belonging to the McCanns. These dogs were also sent to the apartments of all the other people who were on the holiday and didn't alert once. So those dogs only alerted in the apartment when Madeline went missing. And what I think is highly possible that happened, because this, okay, I will say what the Portuguese police believe. The Portuguese police believe that it's highly likely that when Jerry McCann came in around 9:15 and he went out the apartment and he was having a conversation with a BBC producer outside the window who was also on holiday, and Madeline woke up, possibly in a daze because she might have been having some sort of, I don't know, Calpol or whatever, woke up in a daze, got up on the back of the sofa, looked out of the window, fell off down the back of the sofa, cracked her head open on the stone floor. And that is what is believed happened. And that was the case that was archived by the Portuguese police. And with the archiving of that, Kate and Jerry McCann no longer were arguidos, but Kate and Jerry McCann, and the Supreme Court said this, Kate and Jerry McCann have not been cleared.
So if they had just called the police and said, with just the worst accidents just happened, our kid fell off the sofa.
But who knows how any of us would react in a situation like that? Wow. They had their careers, all of them were, you know, the vast majority of them were doctors, you know, so
no one would have believed them and said,
right,
hit her.
Right. But there's so much evidence, which probably I have time to go into, but what I would say is, to anybody, check out the Portuguese police files, which are online. Look at the testimony of the Smith family, who say on that night, they say around that time where Madeline, the time that Madeline was reported missing, they claim that they saw a man carrying a small child going down towards the sea, and they claim that they are 60 to 80% certain that that was Jerry McCann.
Wow.
And this is the stuff you don't see in the press, but this is the stuff why there's so much about this case, including the fact that Jerry changed his witness statement. He gave a witness statement the day after, on the 4th of May, and he gave another one on the 10th, and he, between those dates, he changed how...
Sound like a crazy story.
This 16-year-old boy disappeared without a trace from his home in South London, England. That was 38 years ago. The police assigned to Kevin's case believe that he was murdered. Yet his sister thinks that he may still be alive after some random flowers just turned up on their mother's grave. At 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, March 2nd in 1986, Kevin Hicks realised that he didn't have everything he needed for his cooking exam the following day. With just £1 in his pocket, Kevin walked out the front door of his home and headed towards the local shop to buy the punnet of eggs that he required. By 10 p.m. that same evening, Kevin still hadn't arrived home. His family began to panic, and so they started calling around all of his friends. But none of them had seen him. Kevin's mum called the authorities, and an extensive search for Kevin began. An individual later came forward saying that they had seen Kevin at around 10 p.m. walking in the general direction of his home. But he was never seen with the punnet of eggs that he planned to buy, so nobody knows if he ever got to the shop at all. The case went cold until 1996. On October 25th that year, police received an anonymous tip. This person said that they knew where Kevin's body was, but nothing else ever came of this call. Sadly, Kevin's mother died in 1994 without ever knowing what happened to her son. But at the funeral, Kevin's sister and dad noticed that some random flowers had been left for her that they couldn't account for. There was no note with it, no nothing. Kevin's sister is certain that he left the flowers there. She believes that her brother is still alive, working in the army or the navy overseas somewhere. Kevin is still missing though to this very day, and his sister urges anyone to come forward who may know what happened to him.
Jeez, that's crazy.
There's a really famous mystery called the Dyatlov Pass, and it's about these hikers in the 50s, these 9 really experienced hikers who are going for their what's called their level 3 mountaineering test. And the way you pass your level 3, you have to map out this route. They use the Ural Mountains, so big snow-swept, like huge icy mountains. And so they brought cameras with them. They set off on this journey, and I think they reached the first checkpoint. I forget what it is, but they didn't make it to whatever second checkpoint or whatever it was. And there was a protocol for the people who were sort of sponsoring this test, where if they missed a checkpoint, there's like this big search that goes out to make sure they're okay. So they missed the checkpoint, this protocol is enacted, and not only are there pictures that we will get from the hikers, but there was cameras that came with the search crew. They follow the trail that they're supposed to be on. This is, again, there's no trees. It's just like the tundra. It's like ice and snow and mountains. And they come across this mountain off in the distance, and they see on the windswept side of the mountain, basically halfway up, are these tents that are just these like canvas tents. You barely see them, but they're situated right in the middle of the slope, which is like strategically one of the worst places you can place these tents. So immediately they're thinking, 1, it has to be the hikers, because who else is out here right now? But 2, why in the world would these incredibly talented hikers, why would they ever pitch their tent there? This is the most hazardous part. The wind can whip you off. So they see these tents. They're in the wrong spot. They go up to the tents, and the hikers aren't there. They're not in there. There's pictures of this too. The tents inside had stacks of clothing neatly folded and placed in the corners. Like they left their clothes behind. And the tents themselves were cut open, like with a knife, but somehow they deduced that they had been cut open, but from the inside. So presumably one or multiple of the mountaineers chose to cut open these tents in like negative 50-degree weather. And then there were all these prints in the snow that led down the mountain. And some of the prints were bare feet. Some had one shoe and one barefoot. And it's all 9 of the hikers. They spotted these prints, and they follow the prints down the hill or the mountain. It's a big space. And they find this little crops of trees. And when they get to the trees, they find 3 of the hikers, and they're all deceased. And there's one who's basically almost naked, wrapped up on the ground. There's pictures of this. There's one who I believe was draped over one of the branches up in one of the trees, and then another one who was also on the ground as well. And there's these deep scratch marks in the tree, like gouges on the tree, as if some animal had been scratching at this tree. And all 3 of these hikers are deceased. There's more footprints that lead away from those 3 about a mile, kind of back in the direction the search party had come from. And there's this big snowdrift that created sort of like a snow cave underneath it. And the footprints lead into the snow cave where the other 6 hikers were, and they're all deceased as well. Except in there, the hikers had seemingly exchanged clothing, and they know this because the women were wearing men's clothing and vice versa. Some of their clothes had trace levels of radiation, and some of them had parts of their face removed, it looked like. Lips, nose, ears. It almost looked like surgical precision removal. They're all deceased. And one of the injuries, there was a person in there who their chest had basically been caved in, and it was deduced that the impact it would have taken, the impact would have been equivalent to like a speeding car smashing into you at full speed. But there's no sign of anything that could have done this damage. And so they're all deceased. And so the Soviet government, they launched an investigation. And during this investigation, they discovered that there was a huge military exercise, a Russian military exercise taking place in the Ural Mountains, who had no idea about these hikers. They have no clue that the level 3 mountaineering test is going on. That's not even on their radar. And they're 15, 20 miles away. And one of their senior commanders, on the same night that it's believed the hikers all died and whatever happened to them happened, he began noticing all these strange lights in the sky over the Ural Mountains, going up and down and moving all around, to the point where he actually thought it was another country, a foreign country. Are they invading us? And he literally thought it was like an invasion of Russia. And he sent out messages to say, hey, what's happening over there? Having no idea that he was pointing to the one spot where these hikers were. So during this investigation, they discover that families are clamoring for information about their lost loved ones. Nobody has any idea what's going on. And suddenly the Soviet government says, we're going to shut this investigation down. Ooh. All we know is that the 9 hikers who died from an unknown, unnatural force. Sealed.
Whoa.
What is hiding beneath Mount Shasta? In 1904, a man by the name of J.C. Brown was prospecting for gold at Mount Shasta when he discovered a mysterious cave. He followed the empty tunnel for 11 miles, and at the end of it, he found a lost city with hieroglyphics written all over the walls. As he went deeper into the city, he found a chamber with 27 tombs, which had skeletons in them, except that the skeletons were over 10 feet tall. He hid the entrance to the city and kept the information to himself. However, he obsessed over it in secret. And finally, after 30 years, he put together a team of 80 people to go back and explore the city. However, on the day the expedition was supposed to begin, J.C. Brown vanished and was never seen or heard from again. Whoa. So, did J.C. Brown stumble on a secret that someone was trying to hide? And...
damn, the day of...
This is the greatest unsolved mystery in the FBI's history. On November 24th, 1971, Dan Cooper was riding in the back of a plane. He called a stewardess over and showed her a briefcase containing a bomb. His demands were very simple. He wanted $200,000 and 4 parachutes. After landing in Seattle, Cooper exchanged the 36 passengers for the money and parachutes with the authorities. He then ordered the pilots to fly to Reno, Nevada during this flight. Cooper told the crew to go into the cockpit, and then he locked the cockpit door from outside. After they landed in Reno, Cooper and the bomb were nowhere to be found, and the stairway was left extended. Because at some point between Seattle and Reno, Dan Cooper jumped from the plane into the dark of night, taking the $200,000 and parachute with him. Over the years, many researches were conducted to find Dan Cooper and where he landed, but the case of Dan Cooper remains unsolved till date.
That is crazy. Jumping out the plane?
This doc is so creepy that I did not sleep for days after watching it. It covers 5 unsolved cases of kids who went missing and just vanished into the woods without any explanation. All the cases are eerily similar, even though they happen over the span of a few decades. One guy is interviewed in the documentary who went missing as a child and was eventually found, and the things that he says in the doc that he remembers is unbelievable. All of these cases are real-life horror movies that their families have to live through, not knowing what happened to their children. Les Stroud from Survivor Man is also interviewed in the doc to weigh in his opinion on how he thinks the wilderness works and what may have happened to these kids. If anything, this documentary has just solidified that I will not be going anywhere near the forest, nor will I be taking my future children or dogs. Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced anything weird in the woods, and hit follow for more documentaries to add to your list.
Yeah, I'm not playing with the woods either. I'm cool.
The Bermuda Triangle Mystery.
Or the Bermuda Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle, also known as Devil's Triangle, is a region in the western part of the North Atlantic Ocean where ships and airplanes have disappeared without a trace under mysterious circumstances. The area is roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Some of the notable disappearances include the USS Cyclops in 1918, the disappearance of Flight DC-3 in 1948, and the vanishing of the USS Scorpion submarine in 1968. Many people think it's because of ghosts or aliens, but scientists say that's not true. Storms and bad weather are the real reasons for incidents there. Moreover, people are still interested in the Bermuda Triangle mysteries and create movies and books about it. Don't forget to hit that follow button and stay tuned for more mind-boggling content.
He said mind-boggling content.
The missing 411 phenomenon is a chilling mystery that revolves around the strange disappearances of people in U.S. national parks and wilderness areas. Former police detective David Polides began noticing unusual patterns in these cases, which he documented under the name Missing 411. People simply disappear, sometimes even when they're within eyesight of others.
Crazy.
In cases where bodies are eventually recovered, they're often found in hard-to-reach places, sometimes miles from where they were last seen, and over natural barriers like rivers or cliffs that would seem impassable, especially for young children or elderly hikers. Even stranger, some of the bodies are missing clothing or shoes, with no signs of trauma despite being exposed to the harsh wilderness for days. These cases are especially unsettling because they cluster around certain areas, like Yosemite and the Great Smoky Mountains. These regions see a higher frequency of such mysterious disappearances, almost as if they're marked by an invisible boundary. Search teams equipped with everything from search dogs to infrared cameras often find no trace of these missing individuals.
That is crazy.
As if they vanished into thin air. Some believe they could be the result of natural hazards, animal attacks, or disorientation, but these explanations fall short in explaining certain details. Other theories drift into the paranormal, speculating about alien abductions, secret underground government facilities, or even interdimensional portals hidden deep in remote forest areas. To this day, David Paulides continues his investigation, publishing books and documentaries. Whether these disappearances are the result of natural events or something far more sinister, the missing 411 phenomenon has captivated and unsettled countless people worldwide.
Between 1993 and 1998, Ireland was haunted by the mysterious disappearances of several young women within an area now known as the Vanishing Triangle. This region, encompassing parts of Leinster, became infamous due to these unexplained vanishings. Annie McCarrick, a 26-year-old American student, was last seen in Enniskerry, County Wicklow in March 1993. Despite extensive searches, no trace of her has ever been found. In November 1995, 21-year-old Jo Dullard disappeared while hitchhiking home from Dublin. Her last known location was a phone booth in Moon, County Kildare. Recently, a 55-year-old man was arrested in connection with her case, marking a significant development in this long-standing mystery. Deirdre Jacob, an 18-year-old student, vanished near her home in Newbridge, County Kildare, in July 1998. Despite numerous appeals and investigations, her whereabouts remain unknown. In response to these and other disappearances, the Gardaí launched Operation Trace in 1998 to investigate potential links between the cases. However, no definitive connections have been established. Decades later, these cases remain unsolved, leaving families without closure and communities haunted by unanswered questions. The recent arrest in Jojo Dullard's case brings a glimmer of hope, but the Vanishing Triangle continues to be one of Ireland's most perplexing mysteries.
Man, this is some crazy stuff.
Large island off the coast of North Carolina suddenly appeared one day without any sort of warning. After a few short years, the island sank back into the ocean as quickly as it had risen with no explanation. Shelley Island was located just on the edge of the Bermuda Triangle when it suddenly appeared in 2017. The island was about 1.6 kilometers wide, so it was a fairly large island, at least as far as North Carolina residents were concerned. The island stuck around for several months, but just as residents began to get used to the idea of the island and make plans for it, it sank overnight. We don't know for sure why this mysterious island appeared or what caused it to sink, but scientists blame ocean currents for this strange event. Many people have compared the island to the lost city of Atlantis, as its story is eerily similar. But really, we have no idea what's going on here. Follow for more creepy true stories.
That is nuts. Appear and disappear?
One of the mannequins is actually a missing person.
Did you hear about the Balenciaga missing person? No. This is in one of the Balenciaga stores, the mannequin that they have, the one that looks human, is actually a missing person.
Holy shit.
There's this model for Balenciaga. His name is Christopher G. And he posed on so many different ads for Balenciaga, different shoots, everything. But he went missing. And around the same time he went missing, what happens? They have a mannequin in one of the Balenciaga stores that looks exactly like him. Look at this picture. This is a picture of the mannequin.
That Pusha T, fam?
Now this is a picture of him. It looks the exact exact same. Looks the exact same. And I mean, it's supposed to look the exact same, but that real?
No, this looks too real.
That looks so real, right? This guy's been missing. Family, friends don't know where he's at. Facebook is going wild right now with conspiracy theories because even just think about what's happened with Balenciaga thus far. Satanic occult, you know, some shady business deals. It wouldn't be so far-fetched if they made somebody disappear.
100.
I heard about that one, though.
The 3 greatest mysteries of science that we can't explain. Number 1, human consciousness. We all know that we have consciousness, but what we don't understand is how it works. Scientists have been studying the brain for years, yet we still don't know how the neurons in our brain produce this subjective experience of consciousness. Number 2, the origin of the universe. Scientists have been studying the universe for centuries, but we're still unsure of how it began. We have a theory, the Big Bang, which explains how the universe has evolved since its inception, but we don't know what triggered it. Number 3, paranormal phenomena. People often report paranormal experiences such as ghosts, spirits, or supernatural manifestations, but science can't explain why these phenomena occur. Scientists are still searching for tangible evidence of these phenomena, but so far nothing convincing has been found.
Today's case is very interesting, to say the least, so I'm going to lay out the facts and let you decide what you think could have happened. Rebecca was originally born in Chester, but she worked on Disney cruise ships as a youth worker. After leaving for a short period of time to visit family, she returned back on the one-deck cruise ship, which is what it was called. She kept in contact with her family via Facebook and Skype. But on the 21st of March 2011, her parents grew concerned when they hadn't heard from her for over 12 hours. And at 9 a.m. that next day, she missed her shift to work, which is strange because she lived on the cruise ship. Everywhere was searched, but she could not be located. That was until some CCTV footage was recovered. This was on the day of her disappearance at 5:45 a.m. She was seen having a phone call with somebody and becoming upset after this phone call, which you can see she runs her hair through her hands and walks away. However, strangely, an unverified account, whether it be someone that was working on the cruise ship, actually said that she'd fallen overboard at 3 a.m, which was impossible. And after this point, there's no record of her presence anywhere else, which is strange because it's a Disney cruise ship that has CCTV everywhere. 3 days later, the ship returned to LA, still with no Rebecca. Her parents flew into the US from the UK. And one of the detectives actually said that he'd only spent 1 day on the ship before going home, as well as him saying that he'd only interviewed a few crew members. No passengers, just the odd crew member. And the captain of the ship said that, she must have gone overboard. A rogue wave hit the ship and she went overboard. But her parents dispute this due to the high walls around the ship, and Rebecca wasn't stupid. However, a journalist for a newspaper went on the ship, and he spoke to several crew members on the ship. And these crew members were saying things like, it didn't happen. That's what we were told to say, it didn't happen.
Whoa.
One of the theories was that she went jogging on one of the decks on the ship and it was slippy and she slipped off, but that deck was covered in CCTV. The journalist had shared this theory with a crew member, and he said that she'd gone overboard from a different deck. And he said that everyone knows what happened. And this is because a flip-flop was found on this deck that did not belong to Rebecca. It was claimed it did, but it didn't. It wasn't her size or her style. Flowers were left at one of the decks for no known reason. Like, people didn't even know. It wasn't official that she'd fallen overboard and the crew or, the captain had left flowers there. And one of the crew members said, Disney has the tape. Everything is recorded here. They know exactly what happened. To this day, Rebecca still remains a missing person, and it's looking unlikely that we will know what happened to her.
But they got all the tapes and all the footage.
This is why you have to be careful who you let into your Halloween parties.
Whoa.
So this is a photo of who police believed was a guest at a Halloween party in Rochester, New York in the 1940s. The party was being thrown by Jack and Amelia Layton, and they actually noticed that this guest was outside of the party watching the guests through a window. The report claims that Amelia believed the guest was her friend Jan, who tended to go above and beyond for Halloween, creating very scary costumes. So she let this person in believing it was her friend Jan. But then 20 minutes later, Jan shows up. and that guest could not be found anywhere.
What?
So Amelia starts running around the party asking everyone if they knew who that guest was, and no one had recognized that person. So she goes into her daughter's room, who was playing while the party was happening. And the police report states that the only thing there left of Amelia's daughter was a bloody shoe. 4 other reports of this guest being at parties that night were called into police, and all of them resulted in missing children's cases.
Whoa.
The identity of this person has never been found, and none of the kids have been found either.
Whoa. Whoa, that is crazy.
I'm gonna show you guys 4 videos of a mysterious phenomenon that has been occurring all over the world for a while now, and no one knows exactly why. Skyquakes, you might have heard about it. It's a mysterious and unexplained phenomenon of a sound that appears to be coming from the sky, and the ground actually shakes. This is the first video coming from the USA.
I know I'm a little slow, but that's not an airplane. It's not a rocket. Maybe the dragons have been released. Somebody pissed off Godzilla. I don't know. What the hell is this? Whatever it is, it's shaking my house.
That sounds crazy as hell.
This next video is coming in from Spain. Check this
Otra
out.
vez, señores. Esto da mucho miedo. Suena como trompeta.
This next video is coming in from Peru.
That sounds crazy.
This last video is coming in from Canada, Toronto.
You guys hear that in the sky? Do you hear that?
It's over there, and then sometimes it's over there, and up there. It's weird.
We're in Toronto, Canada, and there's this weird sound in the sky. Hear that? I don't see anything.
Shit like that. Sorry. I can't relate.
What is it?
Yeah, I can't relate. I never heard nothing like that.
This is the story of Morgan Nick, who still has not been found 27 years later. On June 9th, 1995, at around 10:45 p.m., 6-year-old Morgan was abducted from a Little League ball game in Arkansas. This day, Morgan's mother was invited to this game by her friends, and she decided to bring her daughter Morgan. At around 10:30 p.m., Morgan asked her mother if she can go and play with 2 friends behind the field at a park, and at first her mom had a weird gut feeling, so she said no, but then her friends told her that it was completely safe, so she changed her mind and she let Morgan go. The game finished only 15 minutes after Morgan ran off to play, but that was enough time for Morgan to go missing. The 2 kids that ran off with Morgan to play came back to the field once the game was over, but Morgan was not with them. When asked where Morgan was, these 2 little kids said that they stopped at the parking lot to clean sand from their shoes, and Morgan stayed there, so they thought that she was gonna wait for her mom at the parking lot. The 2 little kids do recall an older man by this description that stood by his red pickup truck and just stared at them while they played. What's terrifying is that on that same day, another mother called police and told them that a man with the same description and same truck tried to lure her daughter into his vehicle. And again, the day after Morgan went missing, a man with the same description tried to kidnap a 9-year-old girl. Police spent many years trying to find Morgan, but unfortunately she was never found. Her parents do have hope and believe that she is still alive. Morgan would be 34 years old right now, and they believe that she would look somewhat like this.
Damn, man, it's crazy.
We all know about the Bermuda Triangle, but chances are you've never heard of the Alaskan Triangle. Much like the Bermuda Triangle, the Alaskan Triangle is known to be responsible for the disappearances of thousands upon thousands of people. According to official records, at least 16,000 people had disappeared while crossing through the Alaskan Triangle. Let that sink in for a moment. 16,000 people. Wow. According to police records, the first disappearance occurred in 1972 when a plane disappeared. Everyone on board vanished, and no trace of the jet has ever been found. Each year, there are also reports of missing hikers, other missing aircraft, as well as everyday people like you and me that enter the triangle and never make it to the other side. Locals have reported seeing UFOs in the area, as well as shapeshifters, known as kushtaka, but none of these theories have ever been confirmed, or denied for that matter. Follow for more creepy true stories.
They say them aliens up there too. That's what they
This is the craziest unsolved mystery I've heard to date.
Really?
You ever heard about the Jameson family mystery?
No, I haven't. What is that?
This Jameson family is a family that disappeared and they still don't know what happened to them. The story goes, family of three. It's Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison Jameson. They're literally in the wilderness of Oklahoma. They gone there just so they can check out this plot of land because they wanted to buy like a, you know those big crate containers?
Yeah.
They were planning to live on this piece of land in just like a cargo container.
Okay.
Already on.
Like a trailer life.
Kinda, yeah. Like, you know the small tiny homes? Maybe that's what they're trying to do. But this witness said when they were there, they were literally the only people in the area. Like, nobody really goes around there. A group of 300 volunteers went to go look for their bodies because they disappeared. The only thing they could find was their truck. Now, in their truck, they found the family dog, Sherilyn's purse, a GPS, and a bag full of $32,000, bro.
What?
Why would the family leave just the dog there? And why would they leave all that money? So 4 years passed, and two hunters, they were just hunting in the forest, and they came across skeletal remains of 3 bodies. There's 4 theories. Four theories about what happened to them, fam.
Well, okay, what was the first one?
So the first theory is a very scientific one. It's like, it was a thunderstorm. They lost power in their car. Their power was still on, fam. But anyways, they claim they walked out of the vehicle, found themselves lost in the wilderness, and then they died of hypothermia. First theory. How does it hold up? Not really well. Feel me? This is where it gets crazy. The second theory is that Bob's father, before they went missing and before they died, Bob, in the same week of going to that plot of land, he filed a restraining order for his father because his father claimed that he wanted to kill them.
So it's gonna be the father who murdered?
No, but it really wasn't.
What?
It really wasn't.
What was it?
So check this out. They found even crazier evidence too.
What? What was it? Tell me, bro.
Listen.
Stop.
So the third theory was that they were killed by a cult. Why a cult, right? Why a cult? Sherilyn was reported to have a witchcraft book in her home. That was the first red flag. Second red flag was when they went missing, Sherilyn's best friend received a call, an anonymous call, and it was from a lady. And this lady told her.
The lady told her what?
This is the craziest conspiracy theory. On June 3rd, 3-year-old Ryker Webb went missing, but his parents didn't report him missing right away. It took them over 2 hours to do so. Now, it was a miracle because 2 days later, he was found. But he was found in different clothes that he was reported missing in. Not only that, but he was found 2.4 miles away from his home. Now, don't come for me, this is not my conspiracy theory. But a lot of people think that this is not Ryker. I mean, his face shape is completely different, his eyes are closer together. If this is not Ryker, then who is it? I was looking at the comments and someone else believes that this is actually a skinwalker. They believe that Ryker was killed and then a skinwalker took on his appearance. I don't know, but that was the conspiracy theory. It blew my mind. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, what conspiracy theory should I talk about next?
Man, they should know if that's their kid or not, though.
This story's going wild. A few days ago, a channel called Unexplained Mysteries uploaded a video revealing what appears to be the lost photographs of a late 1800s explorer. The man who claimed to have found these photos would only refer to himself as Mr. Williams. He claimed he was renovating an old property that he had purchased, and as he was cleaning it, he found various items predating the 1960s. These photos were allegedly found between the pages of a book. What's shown in these pictures is quite shocking. It appears to be documentation of an anonymous explorer's journey to an unknown jungle. Amongst the photos, there are various images of both people vegetable and plant life that look completely alien to anything that we're aware of. This photo shows what appears to be a tribe member with oddly disproportionate facial features, yet he's wearing what looks like would have been modern clothing for the day. And the trees in this unknown jungle look like something straight out of science fiction. Like and follow for daily shocking and spooky stories.
Yeah, them people look strange as hell.
This is the last photo of Maura Murray, who disappeared in 2004 in New Hampshire after draining her entire bank account at an ATM. On the day of her disappearance, she told the nursing faculty school that she worked at that she was going to be out of town for a family death. The family said that that was not true. They said that no death had even occurred in the family. Now, after 7 p.m., Murray crashed her car into a tree. A bus driver nearby that witnessed the accident asked her if she needed any help. She declined and urged him to not call the police. He continued driving and decided to call the police anyways and report the incident. The police arrived on scene at 7:43 p.m., but Murray was nowhere to be found. Upon investigating the car, they found wine and beer bottles, but they didn't find any of her IDs, credit cards, debit cards, or cell phone. In fact, her credit card, debit cards, and cell phone had not been used in years before her disappearance. In 2019, a radar detected movement around where she lived, so they went to investigate the basement. Nothing was found. Police treated this as a missing persons case, but a voluntary missing persons case because it seemed like she didn't want to be found. As of 2023, her disappearance is still a mystery and still unsolved as to why she decided to do all this. Let me know what you guys think about Maura Murray's case in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
She took all the money out and dipped.
Today's true crime story is pretty chilling, okay? This one even scared me, right? But anyways, this has some very disturbing and graphic details. Viewer discretion is advised. In the early 1900s in Bavaria, Germany, the group of family lived in this farmhouse called the Hinterkaifeck. The family consisted of husband and wife Andreas and Kazilia, their widowed daughter Victoria, and Victoria kids Joseph and Kazilia. The family noticed a lot of strange things going on around the house. Andreas noticed a set of keys that were missing, and also there were footprints in the snow leading from the woods to the house, but there was never no footprints ever leaving the house. There was also a newspaper in the house that Andreas never remembered buying, and it looked as if someone was trying to pick at the lock on the shed. While all these strange things were going on, they had a maid at the time, and the maid was like, "Look, I gotta quit. This house is haunted." The family kept hearing noises in the attic, and the maid just like, "Look, I can't be here anymore. The noises in the attic, all the stuff going on around here, I can't do it." Although strange things continue to happen in the house, the family ends up hiring a new maid named Marie. What the group of family did not know was that those strange things would lead to their murder. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, the group of family was murdered. Victoria's son Joseph was killed in his crib, and Maria was killed in her bed. What's so crazy about this is that same day, March 31st, 1922, that was the same day that the maid Maria was hired. Meanwhile, the rest of the group of family was found murdered in the barn, and they were stacked on top of each other. When people in the town didn't see the family for days, they grew concerned, and the police came to the house, and then that's when they discovered all the bodies. All the victims were killed by a pickaxe, but the police were so puzzled about something. The family wasn't found until 6 days later, but it seemed like someone had made themselves at home. Police noticed that food was being eaten, the animals were being fed, someone was sleeping in the beds, sitting on the furniture, things like that. For years, the police were looking for the suspect or suspects, but they couldn't find anybody. So the case was closed in 1955, and the year after the murders, the whole farmhouse was demolished. To me, I feel like someone was able to sneak into the house without the family's knowledge and was living in the attic for months. That's what I think. All right, y'all, that's it, and I'll be back to do more true crime videos for you guys.
Bruh, kill with the axe, bruh? Come on.
Do you think you could solve this mystery? This mystery has so many theories. Rey Rivera had to travel for work, so she got up early while her husband Ray made her breakfast. They ate together, then he kissed her, and she was off. Allison arrived at her hotel room around the evening time, and she calls Ray to tell him that she just checked in, but no answer. So Allison calls Claudia, who is their colleague that's living in the same household as Allison and Rey. Claudia said that Rey wasn't at home, but around 6, she heard Rey's phone ring. Then she heard Rey run out of the house in a hurry. Allison then said she'll try back again later. However, Claudia, the colleague, calls Allison back the next morning at 5 a.m. Claudia said that it looked like Rey never made it back home from that time that he left from the phone call. Allison, who became worried, took the first flight back home to Baltimore, which was where they lived. Allison then called Rey's siblings and parents. His family became very concerned and took the first flight to Baltimore, followed by Allison's mom and dad a day later. 7 days later, Rey is still missing. On this particular day, Allison's parents were driving around looking for Rey, and out of nowhere, they spot Rey's vehicle at a hotel parking lot. It had a parking ticket on it. From the date of the ticket, it looked like the car had been there for 7 days. Now there's a clue. Authorities then came to the scene stat. The hotel that they found his car parked at was called the Belvedere Hotel. Now, coincidentally, the Belvedere Hotel was only a couple blocks from where Rey worked, at Stansbury and Associates. You see, Rey was working for his best friend Porter Stansbury as a financial newsletter writer. Rey's best friend Porter begged Rey to take that job, which is what led them to move to Baltimore in the first place. Okay, so back to the car. So his car's there. Where's Rey? They looked everywhere, but nothing. Until 2 days later, searchers discover a hole in the roof. It was next to a parking garage at the Belvedere Hotel. Authorities arrived and they requested for hotel staff to open that door of the room where the hole was at. A worker opened the door and there was Rey's body, badly decomposed. From what the scene looked like, it appeared that Rey fell through the ceiling. Allison then gets the news from authorities that they discovered Rey's body. Allison lost it. His whole family was devastated and they all started to cry together. Everyone just couldn't believe it. Rey was gone, but why? With the extent of the injuries, it looked like the body came from great lengths for the body to be in that condition. People just found it odd that the hole was awfully small and even wondering how he was even able to jump to that location in the first place. Seriously, it's like a helicopter just dropped him onto the roof. But that doesn't explain the rather small hole. Numerous aspects seemed odd about Rey jumping or falling off from the main roof of the Belvedere Hotel, partly due to the hotel's roof. There was a considerable horizontal distance between the hotel tower and the location of the hole in the lower roof. An engineering study of Rey's case showed that, based on distance, Rey would have had to run at least 12 miles per hour to reach the place where his body was found. Therefore, Rey could not have been pushed off the roof or accidentally fallen off of the roof. Rey's cell phone was also found not too far away from where his body was, but the cell phone was in pristine condition. His glasses were also found without a scratch on them. For the force he went through, his belongings didn't get damaged. It's strange. The detective for the case said that it looked staged. As soon as his body was discovered, Porter Stansbury put a gag order on all of his employees at Stansbury and Associates, meaning they weren't allowed to speak with the cops. But again, why? Later on, investigators discover who that mystery caller was. It was traced back to a switchboard of Stansbury and Associates. Detective Michael Bayer said Rey's autopsy was a brutal reading. Multiple ribs fractured, punctured lungs, lacerations. The right leg had 2 different breaks in it to the point where the bone was protruding through the flesh. So the medical examiner declared the cause of death as undetermined, meaning they didn't feel there was enough evidence to prove suicide. There was even a cryptic note left. It was taped onto Rey's desk. FBI inspected the note and confirmed that they did not think it was a suicide note. And after all of those facts that I just told you, the Baltimore Police Department still ruled his case as a suicide. The public has many questions. Questions like, why did the investigation to Rivera's death come to such a sudden close? And why won't police reopen this case as a potential homicide? Rest in peace, Rey Rivera. May someone out there solve your case.
Jeez, that sounds nuts, man.
This video was captured by a remotely operated vehicle at a depth of 3,753 feet in the Indian Ocean. At that depth, you never know what you're gonna find. This video of this otherworldly sea creature is quite unusual. Its physical attributes are not similar to any known species, and since it's suffered on the internet, it's left people completely mind-blown. The video begins with the object floating delicately in the water. Then slowly we see the object slowly transform into a black ball-like shape. undulating strangely. After some time, it opens up from the round structure and then elongates and starts to glow in thin, colorful stripes. Slowly, it can be seen spreading its fin-like structures as lights of different colors can be seen traveling through the creature's changing forms. It majestically drifts, shapeshifts, glows, majestically does a couple of cute spins. It's mesmerizing. Maybe outer space is not the only place aliens are reported to exist. They could be living in our oceans if this video is any indication. Stunned by the video, netizens took over the comment section, and since being uploaded, the video has managed to gather millions of views. And we can see why. Deep sea dives with ROVs are the only way we can see alien sea creatures like this.
They said aliens are in the ocean, though.
Caitlyn Denison has been missing for over 5 years now. She was just 19 years old when she disappeared from Nevada. When one day she abruptly told her family that she was flying to Texas with an unknown male. It's believed that she'd met this male 6 months before in Nevada, but the male had to then fly back to Texas, and Caitlyn said she wanted to go with him. On the 10th of January 2018 would be the last time that her sister would hear from her. Caitlyn claimed to be at a Walmart in Midland, Texas, and on this phone call she stated that she wanted to come home as this man made her fear for her life. To which the man had approached her, to which she then ended the call. After the phone call ended, she pinged her sister her location, and her sister went to the police and reported exactly what Caitlyn had just told her. When police investigated, they reported that they did actually have positive sightings that day of Caitlyn at the Walmart where she said she was. However, information on the male that she was with is not known. However, another confirmed sighting was a witness that came forward claiming that they had given Caitlyn a ride to her boyfriend's house, which is probably the male that she was with. For some reason in this case, very little has been released to the public, and for some reason to this day nobody has any idea who she went to Texas with or flew to Texas with, which is really, really strange, and to this day nobody has heard from Caitlyn since that fateful day.
Man.
On August 6, 1930, Judge Joseph Force Crater, a well-known New York Supreme Court judge, vanished without a trace, creating one of America's most famous mysteries. After dining with friends in Manhattan, Crater left, apparently heading home. But he was never seen again. Despite extensive investigations, no clues were found. His wife later disclosed that Crater had withdrawn a large sum of money before vanishing, fueling suspicions of foul play, corruption, or an escape. Theories ranged from mob involvement to political retaliation, yet nothing concrete emerged. His high-profile status and the absence of evidence earned him the nickname, the Missingest Man in New York. To this day, Judge Crater's fate remains unsolved, marking his disappearance as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in U.S. history.
Here are 3 of the strangest unsolved mysteries about the ocean. The Kaz 2 was a boat that left from Australia in 2007 with 3 sailors on board. It would soon be found completely intact with the motor running, a laptop still powered on, and a table set for dinner. The only thing missing? The entire crew, which had vanished without a trace. No signs of foul play or a struggle were found. What's the only thing scarier than a bump in the night? A bump on the bottom of the sea. Scientists have recorded a strange sound coming from the ocean over the years, nicknamed the bloop. It doesn't sound anything like a known animal would make, and any animal that makes a sound that loud would likely be massive. The best guess scientists have is icebergs scraping the ocean floor, but they have no way of proving it. How could one of the biggest predators alive simply vanish? In 2003, scientists tagged a 9-foot great white shark in a study on temperature changes. They followed the shark's tracker for several months until one day the shark suddenly dove down 1,900 feet and was never seen from again. This indicates that it was eaten, and the tag was swallowed by a much bigger predator. But what would eat a great white shark? Sperm whales and orcas don't usually, which has led many people to speculate that something far bigger is hiding in the depths.
Most biologists will agree that the biggest mystery in the entire fossil record is the doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years.
We are 98.7% identical to a simian, and there's only 1.3% differentiation. But you look at the simians, they have 48 chromosomes. We only have 46. Where did that change occur? Where did we get this new understanding? And how did we lose 2 chromosomes, even though we're 98.7% identical and behave just like them? Doesn't it scream manipulation from an external force?
Something. And the Anunnaki story is all about gold. The idea was that they were going to suspend gold particles in their atmosphere in order to protect their environment, and that they took us and they created us
from the hominids.
The reason why that's so interesting is because gold is fucking useless 10,000 years ago. Why is it the #1 method of currency throughout all human beings? And it appears our advancement happens very unnaturally. I think...
That's it? All right, that was another TikTok compilation, man. That was creepy, conspiracy theory, unsolved mystery, true crime. It was a lot of stuff going on in this video, man. First and foremost, if you made it this far, make sure you drop real one for real in the comments. Make sure you drop that. This was interesting, but they do say that the aliens are underwater too, and out in Antarctica. So it's a lot of stuff going on. Conspiracy theories for sure. But look, till next time, self-love and positivity, Fire Squad. I got you and you know it.